I'm not just a prospect. I'm going to be one of the biggest names in Irish MMA and then the world.
But they're not brave enough to be like, I am going to go on and fucking do this one day. Same way you're going to be in the UFC at some stage.
100%.
And be UFC champion one day.
No, 100%. The week of the fight that I was going to be co-main event. And obviously, like, I don't really pay too much attention to it fight week and stuff like that. But I think for once, maybe, you know, I'm human. Maybe the occasion got to me a little bit.
But the conviction to know that you'll go on and do the work that is, you
required,
know, required. Yeah, required is a word. For you right now, Max, what is that adversity in your own life, and are you even internally trying to prove a point to the world?
All my life, I've known nothing else but martial arts. It almost just pushed all of these doubts and negativity out and was like, you are going to do absolutely everything you can to get this guy out of here. And I just start charging forward. As I said, I just caught him a flush right hand. They start bombing him. You need to win this round. You need to win this round. You need to win this round. But what's happening there? And what's happening is my thought process is no longer clear. I'm thinking about the outcome before the outcome has already occurred or happened.
What does faith mean to you, Max, and how did you come into the world of believing in God and believing in a higher power?
Like how I started believing in God, and through God, I'll accomplish it. You know.
By any means necessary. That's brilliant, man. You've got to pursue things in life. You've
Oh,
got
you
to be
do.
goal orientated. You've got to have that vision, and you've got to be willing to put the work in to make it happen.
Definitely, dude.
What is it that motivates you internally? What is that gets you fired up?
Like, so it's like,
I have to say, I've done a lot of podcasts. That was by far, I'd say, the best chat I've done on a podcast. I swear to God.
Now, before we jump into today's episode, this podcast is brought to you by the Bond Brothers. And the question I have for you is, wouldn't you want to be walking around feeling like the man? I feel like that's a complete no-brainer. There's a real psychology behind how we dress. And when we look sharp, we move differently. And that's where the Bond Brothers come in. Irish Groomswear Supplier of the Year with their premium store in Goatstown. They offer luxury wedding suits, tuxedos, and expert personal fittings to make sure that you show up like a man on a mission. Head over to the Bond Brothers Instagram and contact Brendan, and he will make sure that you walk away looking dapper. Bond Brothers, where confidence is tailored. Do you like being behind the camera?
nah, I don't mind it.
Yeah. You have to get used to it with press conferences and things like that as well.
You do, and I think like being in front of a camera as well. Like I don't know. I think it helps you like speak better and.
You speak well, man. Do you practice it?
Yeah, my dad has tried to get me to practice it. So I used to would have speak very like when I spoke, I would have like exhaled through my nose. So I would have sounded like I was like mumbling.
No way.
And what I started doing was I started putting a pen in my mouth to like pronounce me words more clearly.
Really?
Yeah.
And it worked.
Well, yeah, I worked on some things, yeah. But I always, now it's like I try to, especially like when I've been over like abroad and stuff like that, it's like the Australians and stuff wouldn't understand me if I spoke the way I'm speaking now. So I'd have to speak super clear, like really over. Same when any time I've kind of travelled and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I've had to really just like pronounce me words and just speak super clear so that people can understand me.
It's a real skill, and especially for someone like yourself, what you're doing, like you're going to be behind the camera a lot.
No, 100%, 100%, yeah. So
do you visualize much of what it's going to look like when you're on that press conference one day, whether it's Cage Warriors or UFC?
Yeah,
like,
no, dude, 100%. And it's like I really. Like I visualize like where I'll be in, let's say, the next 5-6 years, and it's like it kind of scares me a little bit.
Yeah.
But like I know
that's because the vision's so big.
Exactly.
That's
you know
class,
what I mean? So it's like I know I have huge expectations on myself, and I know them expectations always are going to be met with hard work and you know, a strong belief system, you know.
It's good to have. It's definitely good to have, because like I often say, like a man is only as big as the ambitions that he has in life.
No, 100%.
So if you've got big ambitions and you know you'll do the work and have the discipline to get there, you will fulfill the dream, the wish, the vision. It's all there for you.
And as well as that, being around other individuals who have visions as big, I think that's as equally as important.
And is that just like the team that you have around you,
exactly.
Your friends, or what's that look
like I would say out of, so even in the gym, but out of the gym as well. You know what I mean? I'd be around people that like want to do well for themselves. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I think that's also super important. But as well as that, the people that I train with have these dreams like I do as well.
Yeah.
And because we do, it's like we're gonna push ourselves that extra 5-10% every session. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's huge as well, because I think there's like a group energy that comes into it as well. When every vision or dream of the collective group is being reinforced constantly over and over again, it gives it a bit more energy, gives that vision a bit more life, because you're constantly talking about it.
No, definitely.
And a famous quote from Mr. McGregor, he says, if you've got a dream or ambition, have the courage enough to speak it into existence.
100%.
You know, a lot of people have dreams and ambitions in life, but they're not brave enough to be like, I am going to go on and fucking do this one day.
Yeah.
Same way you're going to be in the UFC at some stage.
100%.
And be UFC champion one day.
No, 100%.
You know, that it's because you're willing to say it, but also I think you've got the courage, not the courage not just to say it, but the conviction to know that you'll go on and do the work that is,
required,
required. Yeah, required is a word. Required to become UFC champion.
100%.
Which is, it's so powerful, man.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
No, it's I always say it's like, you put them things out into the universe, you know what I mean, and you always speak them into existence, you know what I mean. I really think, like, a part of it, I do think a lot of the sport, a lot of demand is physical, but a lot of it is mental as well. You know what I mean? It really is. And at the end of the day, you have to back yourself 110% in any situation, in any fight, in any kind of. It's like, it's so important to be there mentally. You know what I mean? To be able to back yourself when all cards are down. You know what I mean?
And when them cards are down, Max, like, what does that look like for you in regards to, let's say, overcoming challenges or obstacles that come your way?
So, like, I think the most part is when all cards are down, I think that's when you show your true colours, if that makes sense. Obviously, I had a fight a few weeks ago where that kind of happened.
Lovely little segue.
Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah. Fought a good guy in Ben Ellis who'd been out of the cage 3 years. He was, I think, 4-2 as a pro, but in his record, he has some good wins, and usually when guys have good wins like that, it means they can show up every now and then. You know what I mean? Yeah. And in fairness to Ben, 3 years out, he showed up and he gave me a tough fight, a fight that, like, a lot of people thought I would have walked fairly easy, but I had to go to a place where a dark place, man. You know what I mean? I had to go there and get the win out of somewhere. You know what I mean? And
I heard you say the depths of the water, and it was a war.
Yeah, no,
it was a war.
It was a war. It was a war, and obviously, for myself, it's like I've been in them situations before many times where I've had to show them colours, Yeah. I know before kind of we start recording, we spoke of the IMAFs and me dislocating my shoulder, tearing my labrum and stuff. But it's like, I suppose everyone has to do that when the spotlight is on them. I found out, like, the week of the fight that I was going to be co-main event. And obviously, like, I don't really pay too much attention to it fight week and stuff like that, but I think for once, maybe, I'm human, maybe the occasion got to me a little bit.
Did it?
You know what I mean?
In what sense, Max?
In what sense? I would say that I think I didn't take a moment in that week to maybe sit down and acknowledge what's happening, if that makes sense. I was maybe trying to, with the nerves and stuff like that, and usually I would be a person to confront feelings a lot of the time. I never suppress feelings. Brilliant. I always say how I am, you know what I mean, whether that's anxious, nervous, whatever like that. I think a man has to be in control of his own emotions, you know what I mean. So I've always confronted them, and for whatever reason, I don't know, and this is maybe the first time I hadn't confronted them, and I before this fight I never would have said, I would have said nerves, like, I don't know, never have them, you know what I mean? Which I don't. I never have them before a fight. I get excited more than nervous. And then, I don't know, I went in, and in fairness to my opponent, he hung in there, if that makes sense. He was always there. He was always in my face. I think I managed to nick 2 rounds off him fairly comfortably. First round and the third round. A tough fight that will, no doubt in my mind, stand to me, because I think just in life, when things get hard like that and you can show your true colours, you can show that, you know what, I won't break. No man's gonna break me. No man's gonna keep me down. You know what I mean? I really do think that that them kind of situations, they definitely stand to you, you know.
Guarantee they do, and you're definitely an interesting fight. And I think you are right. First and third round, from an objective point of view, you definitely won. So obviously you won the fight on a unanimous decision. What was it that you learned about yourself though in that fight, Max? Was there one thing in particular now that you reflect back on it? You're like, you know, you knew already you got that grit. You know you got that dog in you. Let's say that. I love that term. Was there anything else from that fight you took away, or like?
Well, I suppose the biggest thing and the most important thing in fighting, right, obviously is winning, but it's also being able to show up and do it on the night. So it's like there's this saying that goes, and like fighting, right? In my opinion, fighting is percentages. So it's like sometimes a guy can show up and he'll do his best work and he can win, but maybe that doesn't happen all the time, right? Maybe that doesn't happen. Some people might struggle to show up on the night and do what they do under the lights in the gym.
It's a lot of pressure, man.
It's a lot of pressure because it's like, I would say, I fought 15 minutes there a few weeks ago. That's probably like 5% of what I've done that whole training camp. So it's like people are getting to see a very, very small side of what I do, which is to fight. But that 15 minutes, that 5% is the most important. Yeah. So it's like the most important thing about fighting is being able to do it under the lights. You know what I mean? So I was happy, of course. Like I was happy that I was able to do that. Like the biggest probably fight so far in my career, being able to do that in my hometown. You know, like I was happy with that part. Of course, I'm my biggest critique. Yeah. I've practically dissected this fight since it's happened. And there's a lot of things I'm very grateful to have gone that 15 minutes, because I think this is where you learn the most about yourself, like technically as well. Yeah. So I've been able to dissect this fight and pick out, you know, what was working well, what I shouldn't have been doing well, what I was doing well, what needs to be worked on. And as a fighter, I always say this. I actually say a prayer, and I always say it before I go out when I fight. Prayer. Serenity prayer, dude. You know what I mean? God grant me serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. So through that, it's like, I know if, as a human, if I do absolutely everything I can in my power to do to get better, to improve, I know that's all I can do. If I get beaten by the better man, if I get beaten by someone who is technically better, there's not much I can do about that. You know what I mean? All I can do is control what's in my hand. You know what I mean? And that's what I do every time I fight. You know,
prepare the best, and then obviously leave it all out there in the cage when it comes to be. You mentioned God there, and prayer, and faith, and serenity, and I think it's such a beautiful thing. And I just love talking about faith because it became a big part of my own life in the last couple of months as well. And you just kind of touched on it there. What does faith mean to you, Max? And how did you come into the world of believing in God and believing in a higher power?
So, like, how I became, like, how I started believing in God. My mother and father have always been believers in God, but maybe haven't been, I don't know, like, as vocal about it as some other people. Now, for me, I always had a belief in a higher faith, but recently, especially when kind of these fights and stuff started to get bigger, I felt like I needed to put maybe my burdens, my feelings onto something else. Does that make sense? Give it to something else. Give it to something that's maybe bigger than myself. You know what I mean? And that's what God has always been for me. It's been someone that I've been able to give my burdens, feelings, my worries to.
And you trust in Him.
And I trust in Him.
Yeah.
And I know, let's say, results, outcomes, they're not on me, they're on Him.
Do you know, it's so funny you said this, man, because you're speaking like, I've seen a recent interview of Ilya Taporia.
Yeah.
And he talks about, like, God has got a plan for him, the way God has a plan for everyone that believes in Him and has the faith in God. And it's like, whatever happens, it's God's plan, it's God's will. It's not of my own accord, it's of God's accord. Yep. And I walk that path that God has laid out for me. And I think it's just a beautiful way to get a sense of almost relief in this life, to know there's something outside of you that's taking care of you, and your path is laid out. And look, whatever happens, it's all part of His plan
100%.
And not your own. So you have this trust, and kind of you give it up to God, which is such a beautiful phrase. What else does God do to you? And like, how, I suppose a better question to ask is, how do you get connected with prayer? Because a lot of people almost that I've spoken to of recently find it hard to pray, but I just believe prayer is like openly just speaking to God. Like,
yeah,
He's ever present, He's omnipresent, so just speak whatever's on your mind out loud, and it comes back to you.
So it's very interesting that you say that, because I probably only have, I'd say, 2 or 3 prayers memorized off. Brilliant. If that makes sense, from the Bible. But I think prayer can mean a lot of different things, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And it's like, for me, to be able to like sit down and even just think to myself when I'm in, I don't know, spots of bother, spots of worry, when things get a bit, I don't know, overwhelming, you get a bit crowded with your thoughts, especially because I find myself talking to God more after a fight than I would before a fight, believe it or not.
Okay.
And the reason for this is because after a fight, I would get like usually a huge adrenaline dump, you know what I mean? Because obviously, you know, when I go into fight, you are on such a high after, but what goes up must come down. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So usually after a fight, I might be I'm as I said before, I'm my biggest critique, you know what I mean? I'm always going to be picking stuff out and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And sometimes I need a method to get away, maybe like not for long, get away for even a day, you know what I mean? And like after this fight especially, I wouldn't have said I was like down, but I was just so disappointed with how I performed, you know what I mean? I honestly, obviously it was good to show that I like, obviously I got the win, you know what I mean, which is the most important thing. But for me, a win like that, it's not a win. Does that make sense?
Because it doesn't resemble the skill and the fighter that you are.
It's like, exactly. I know I am so much better than that, you know what I mean? But like, you know, I was sitting down, I was thinking to myself, like, why did I not go in, and why did I not like fight the way I usually do, and stuff like that? And I sat down and I kind of was thinking to myself, like, God, do you have this planned out for me? Did you want me to have a fight like this so I can improve and become twice the fighter that I am now? And I think that's like being able to like think and, I don't know, like, that's correspond. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, and it was almost like, I can't explain it, right? But it was like this perspective just came into my head like automatically. It was like I was thinking so negatively, and then all of a sudden, boom, this new perspective pops into my head. Wow. And make me thinking about this new perspective in my head of, no, God wanted you to have a fight like this. Why did he want you to have a fight like this? Because he knows that going in, fighting for 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes, getting a quick win is only going to get you so better. He wanted to bring you through the trenches, bring you through a dark, twisted road to see if you could come out the other side and improve as a fighter from it. And so that's, once that perspective popped into my head, I was like, you know what? I was like, that's a really like beautiful but powerful thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And what does God do? What does he do for others? He gives them hope and prosperity, and he teaches them lessons through trials and tribulations.
Yeah.
And like, God cannot anoint someone unless he puts them through pain. And I think especially as a man, we grow so much when we go through pain. We need pain in our life to really grow and learn who we are deep down. What is your character? You know, what is the minerals inside of you, as one would say. But that's a beautiful perspective to have, man, and it's incredible in a short space of time. Because prayer is so powerful. The more I pray at the moment, the more I realize God is actually present in my life. You begin to witness it firsthand in like small synchronicities. People might call it coincidences. But it's not a coincidence.
No,
not for a second.
I to be honest, like, I wouldn't believe in coincidences.
I love it, man.
I wouldn't.
I don't either.
I think
coincidence is a bullshit word.
I think that's
sorry to cut across you. Right?
Yeah,
coincidences are what people believe in when they don't believe in God.
Exactly, and like, it's like I think I'm a big believer in, like, everything just happens for a reason. You know what I mean?
Like that perspective.
It's like I don't think I've ever even like, oh, that's a coincidence that happened. I never believed in it.
Yeah.
I always kind of thought that, you know, I always say it, and I've always said it in life, through good and through bad, everything happens for a reason. And it's like, once you kind of put that onto God, if that makes, like, once you put that onto God, it's like, I find you're lighter, if that makes, you know what I mean? You're lighter.
Just get it off your chest.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Give it up to God.
No, 100%. It's like, I don't know, like, with my faith, like, I've never been it's always been kind of my little personal thing, if that makes sense. maybe haven't spoken about it. I think the first time I really spoke about it was I think with my manager after like one of my pad sessions before a fight. They were asking me. He was saying he's really gotten into religion the past while, and I think I don't want to like butcher it why he got into religion, but his relationship with God was frayed for a bit through personal things that I think happened to him and family members of himself. But anyway, he's found God, and he was like, I think it's so powerful. And I was speaking to him about, like, before I fight, how I say serenity prayer every time before I fight. And serenity prayer is my avenue of kind of putting the result to God. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's no longer on me. I have prepared. I've done absolutely everything I can do humanly possible to prepare for this fight. So it's like, no matter what happens, whether I get knocked out in the first minute, whether I get submitted, whether I lose a split decision, whether I win a split decision, whether I knock the guy out, whatever has to happen will happen. That's on God. It's not on me. You know what I mean?
That just gives people such a sense of relief.
No, it does. It does, because it's like, obviously, I think once you I think when you think, okay, this result is on me, I think that's just added pressure.
Exactly.
I just don't think you need to have it. You know what I mean? So it's almost like if you can put these kind of things onto God, as I said before, you feel like a lighter person. You feel like I don't know, free of emotion almost, if that makes sense. And then it's like, it allows me then to focus on the task at hand, then, which is obviously fighting.
Definitely is fighting, no doubt about that. And tell me, Max, how has faith then played into kind of the visualization aspect of what you're looking to go on and achieve, even the career that you have like envisioned for yourself, let's say? How has faith played into that role? Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. How has faith played into the role of what I visualize is that I know when I speak things out into existence, speak things to myself, to my mother, my father, I'm not only speaking it to them, but I'm also speaking it to the man above. Brilliant. But as I said, it's like, I want to word this correctly. When I speak these things into existence, let's say, it's like, I'm not only saying it to myself, I'm also saying it to God. I'm saying it to whoever, like my friends, my mom, my dad. But I know for a fact that what I visualize isn't gonna be, let's say, a straight path. Does that make sense? I think once I speak it out, no matter what the journey is, no matter what the destination is, it's like I'm able to, let's say, obviously be present with the idea of what I have now, but I think the destination is important, right?
Yeah.
But faith has also taught me to also look back and, let's say, see how far I've also come from where I've started. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I think it was Matthew McConaughey that said it, right? Yeah. That, okay, like, what's more important, like, let's say, the journey or like the destination? You know what I mean?
It's the journey, or is it?
It's the people.
Oh,
you know what I mean? It's the people.
The people you meet along the way.
You know what I mean? So it's the people.
That's so true.
And it's powerful. But I think God, right? I've never actually. I say God is obviously putting like my destination out to God is always been like a big thing, because I want Him to hear it as well. I want Him to hear what I see.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But He's also taught me the destination's important, but where you've come from is as important, and the people are also as important. Does that make sense?
Makes complete sense. Yeah.
So it's kind of like a full circle thing. Like I feel like with like what I see and what I envision for myself is obviously to be the best fighter I can possibly be, but not only be the best fighter, to be the best person I can be.
I love that.
You know what I mean?
Class.
It's a lot of different things, and obviously it's like another thing that I listen to Matthew McConaughey say. It's like, I'm never chasing, like, obviously I have a destination of where I want to be, but I'm also chasing to be my best self. You know what I mean? my best
He's
self is
always like 10 years ahead.
exactly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
He's always 10 years, and you're
So
always chasing him.
I'm always chasing myself, if
Yeah,
that makes
yeah,
sense.
yeah.
You know what I mean? I always want to be better than myself. I always want to be better than I was 6 months ago, last month,
Yeah.
a year ago. You know what I mean? And chase that guy that might be 1 year, 2 years away. But when I get to that guy that's 1, 2
only
years
2 years
away,
ahead of you.
he's going to be
He's
2 years
gone,
ahead of me.
he's
He's gone. You know what I mean?
I
So
love what you said there, Max, and you caught me off guard in regards to journey to destination. It is about the people that
Yeah.
we bring into our lives or that we meet along the journey, because I often think like how God operates through us is that when you get connected with God, with the Word of God, with praying towards God, He shines through you, and like people can see when the presence of God is present in your own life. Because I believe also when you get connected with the Word of God and the Scriptures, your spirit inside lights up.
yeah.
Because that's what the prayer connection, the prayer and connection to God is like. When you pray, that barrier closes, you get connected with God, and then He shines through you. And like you said there, with the journey and destination, the more people you meet along the way, it's like the more kind of godly presence they feel of you, and people are uplifted by it.
Yeah.
You can uplift people by
No,
your
100
words, by your presence, by your energy.
But people have always said this to me, and like I never used to like pay too much attention to it, but like people have always said like, I don't know what it is about you, but when you speak, I just want to listen. And I never really like paid too much about it, but I find people that let's say like a religion, a God in their life, you know what I mean? You can almost sense that like spirituality off them. Does that make sense?
You can.
It's like you can sense it off them. So it's like, I don't know, anyone that I've ever like I'm gonna give like Dave Patrick Farrell a shout out here, right? Big Dave a shout out, right? Because I always find when he's speaking, I'm always just like interested. I'm always just listening. You know what I mean? I love listening to what he has to say, and you get this sense of spirit off him. You know what I mean? You really do, and it's like. I remember when I first spoke to him, that's what I got off him. And then I find out off Dave that God is huge in his life. You know what I mean?
Massive.
So it's like a lot of, this doesn't just go for Dave. I could name so many different examples of people that I've spoken to that I'm like.
And now you're one of them as well, Max. Isn't that beautiful?
No, it is a beautiful thing. Yeah,
It
no,
is.
definitely a beautiful thing.
There's two words I came across recently in the Bible. It's prophecy and the word edification, right? So prophecy is the word of God.
Yep.
That's what God's words are written in the Bible, right? Edification is a very powerful word, or it means to edify. And it means the spirit of the word comes through it as you speak it. So like you touched on there with Dave, there's something about Dave, when you heard him speak, something lit up inside of you. It's because God has channeled his spirit into Dave's words, and it's had an effect on you.
Yeah.
That's what that word edification means. And it's so powerful, and that's why I became such a believer and knower of God now, is because like it's just so evidently clear that this spirit exists. I'm like, there's too much proof for me not to believe.
Yeah, no, 100%. And it's like, I think that's what I'm guilty of, is that like, you know, for me, I'd say, especially up until this fight, like I always would have been a believer in God, but I maybe wouldn't have been like yourself or like Dave, who speaks it.
Yeah.
I would never have spoken it. I would have really just kept it between myself. I would have spoke of it with my mum and my dad, but in regards to like myself, I always just would have kind of kept it to myself, because I suppose that was always my relationship with God as a kid.
Yeah.
Was that if I had any burdens, if I had any problems, if I had anything that was kind of out of my control, I'd always ask him for assistance.
So even as a kid, you
Yeah.
were praying,
Yeah, like I always, well, like prayer, I would
or
have
just talk.
spoke to him.
That's prayer.
Does that make sense?
No, it makes complete sense, man. But I also believe just by speaking to God, it's a form of prayer.
Yeah, and it's like I always would have maybe been discouraged as a kid, where it was like, oh, like I'm gonna have to learn these prayers. I'm gonna have to. But like as a kid, honestly, I always would have sat at the edge of my bed, and my dad especially, and my mum, they always would have said, if you need help, and pray to God, he always comes to your help. He always comes to, and they've always, like my mum, my dad, like they've always been like very like religious, but like they'd like keep it to themselves. They wouldn't really say it to anyone else. I don't know why. Like my mum would have a book of affirmations, you know.
Love that.
Yeah, like a prayer book. Same with my dad. My dad would read, like, has a prayer book, and he would like pick a prayer and he'd read it out like at the start of every morning. And like they've always kind of done this, And then I suppose when you're doing extremely like difficult things, right? Like things that are just, because I'm a believer in doing difficult things in life makes everything else.
Around this.
Yeah,
so you have your own philosophy.
You know what I mean? It's like I know anything I do that's difficult, that's hard. You know what I mean? Everything else in life is gonna be easy compared to it. You know what I mean?
Especially as a fighter, man. Like, what is there anything more difficult on the planet than going inside a cage and fighting against another guy trying to kill you?
I suppose I suppose not. No, yeah. Yeah.
And that's probably why you walk around with, like, we touched on it, this internal confidence that you have. Is like, you're a brown belt in jiu-jitsu. Yeah. You're a highly accomplished fighter. 5-0 is a professional record. Yeah. It's like, of course you've done the hard things, and that's why life, the burdens that come to you now, maybe in your day-to-day life, are like, are you serious?
Yeah.
Like, is this all you've got? Because and like the things you face are so much harder than what life can ever throw at you.
Yeah, no, 100%. And the powerful thing about it is that, like, these little small burdens that maybe come to me now as a kid would have made me very anxious and worried, and you know what I mean? Yeah, yeah. And like, just true, especially my dad. Like, my dad has probably been the, like, out of absolutely everyone, if you were to ask me who's been the biggest influence on you, I would say my father.
Such a beautiful thing. How often you heard you call him your hero? You know what I mean?
100%. And I always speak so highly of him, and how he reared me, and how he introduced me to sport, and then how he kind of taught me to approach life. You know what I mean? In that regard, of he would always say, son, like, if you pursue what you love, he always said this to me. Something worthwhile is never going to be easy. It's never going to be straightforward. It's always going to be hard and difficult. But once you can come out the other side of that, it's a beautiful thing.
I guarantee it is.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing.
And it takes so much discipline and self-control to go on that path.
It does.
It could have been so much easier for you, whether it's to go on and do a different career. Were you doing Sparks at one stage?
No, I wouldn't have been a Sparks. I would have been a GO, a general operative. So I would have worked as a butcher in Kerrigan's in Malahide. Shout out to them. Shout out to Barry Kerrigan. Would have worked out there as a butcher from when I was 16 right up until I was 19 years of age. Wow. And then, obviously, like I say, like yourself, I say like a lot of other teenagers there, you know, like the relationship with my dad now is great, but as a teenager, obviously we would have fought a lot. You know
rebellious.
What I mean? You're rebellious,
you're
exactly.
Find your own individuation path. You're becoming your own individual.
Exactly, my own individual. Yeah. And I find with teenagers especially, you kind of want that independence, but you're not quite there yet. You know what I mean? And obviously I would have had a lot of conversation with my parents and stuff like that. But obviously when I got a bit older, I kind of copped on and said, you know what, I am probably the luckiest. It's like, if anything, out of everyone in the world, family will have your back 110%. You know what I mean? It's like my mum and dad have always had my back no matter what, and I kind of obviously grew super close with my dad from that, and then start working with him. You know what I mean? I joined his place of work, I'll read electrical, and I went away to Thailand to train. So usually when I go on these trips abroad, I would take time off work, and I'll read electrical to be so kind to like let me take the time off. They understood that like I'm pursuing a career in fighting,
pursuing a dream,
and through that it's like a kind of a coincidence. I go away to Thailand. I'm there for 2 months. I get to spar one of the best featherweights of all time, Alex Volkanovski. I had opportunities to train with multiple UFC champions, Aljamain Sterling, Peter Yan.
Wow.
Lerone Murphy while I was over there as well, another UFC featherweight. A lot of good fighters.
Is he an English fighter?
He is. He's from Manchester. Yeah. He's a good guy, really nice guy. And it was just through that kind of like that fluke. People like to call it a coincidence. It's not a coincidence. It was meant to happen. It's like people think all these things are a coincidence. It's like, no. Like, I got an opportunity, obviously, to go away to Australia and help Volk in his fight with Diego Lopez. But people are like, is that a coincidence? Is it not? Like, and it's like, no, it's not. I was meant to be there.
You're meant to be there, but you've also earned the right to be there.
Exactly. You know what I mean? It's like there's a reason why, you know, they thought I was a good fit to help him get ready for his fight with Lopez, and I helped him to the absolute best of my ability, like anything, you know what I mean? That's kind of going back to that serenity prayer. I'm doing everything I can humanely possible
In your power.
in my power. You know what I mean?
Love that, man.
And it's like I had the opportunity to experience a winning UFC camp. You know what I mean? Not many people get to experience that, and that was an eye opener. And then, like, I think, I don't know, like all good things, I find God has a way of snowballing them, if that makes sense. Momentum, exactly. I find, and I think this happens good and bad, I find, right?
You're on the money.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like with life, unfortunately, it as brutal and as cutthroat as it sounds, it's like you do have to take the good and you have to take the bad. That's life. It's the most beautiful / most cutthroat thing like ever. You know what I mean? It's just, it's so unpredictable, but that's what makes it beautiful.
That's it.
You know what I mean? So obviously I had the snowballing effect of then going in to make my Cage Warriors debut and get the first round finish. After that unbelievable camp, you know what I mean? And as I said, I just think God has a way of snowballing these good things, but also these hard things and these trials and these tribulations. But I am a big believer in that He puts you on these paths to make you a better individual. You know what I mean?
Yeah. We all need it. There's two beautiful things you touched on there that I find fascinating. So momentum being the first one, is because momentum is a powerful force in life.
Yeah.
And I feel like you're on that path or on that train at the moment of an upward trajectory where you're developing a lot of positive momentum in your life, whether it's multiple training sessions, winning your fights, and just progressing forward. But also, like you said, it can work in a downward spiral. And I find it's easier, and it's so much easier to fall off and go in a downward trajectory than, like, you know, constantly putting in the reps to get yourself moving forward and climbing up the ladder. Yeah. And then the second thing as well is, like, life's a duality. You got to take the good and the bad and the indifference that comes with it. And it's like, there's a lesson in everything.
No, there
genuinely is. But to go back even a small bit further, you touched on Volk, who's what a fighter he is, and all the accomplishments he's had inside the UFC, and gone on to be a champion and had a long reign at one stage as well.
No, he did,
very, very long reign. From a mentality aspect, Max, what did you learn from being around him? Is there anything in particular from being around that kind of champion mindset that he had that you took away from the camp you had with him? Yeah,
no, like, obviously Volk, and I think any athlete at that level, their mindset is bulletproof. Is bulletproof, you know what I mean? And especially being around him, you can see that, but you can kind of also see that he has that bulletproof mindset. He loves being that underdog. You know what I mean? And especially like this camp, he kind of, let's say, will have like a quote of the camp, and he was coming off, and like, he's 36 years old. He's come off 2 bad knockout losses, you know what I mean? And he has absolutely everyone writing him off, and he has this adversity in his way. And I don't know if you remember him saying this after the fight. He said adversity is a privilege, is what he said, you know what I mean? And I could not agree more, you know what I mean? To be in a position to have adversity and have things against you, and then to come out the other side of it like he did, is inspiring. You know what I mean?
It's a point to prove.
And I think that's also a powerful force that drives you. You know what I mean? When you're doing it for yourself, but you're also doing it, not like you're doing it to prove yourself and absolutely everyone else wrong. Does that make sense? No, I still got this. You know what I mean? And that was his kind of mindset. Like, the whole camp is that, like, I think Volk is a type of guy that you can't tell him he can't do something. You know what I mean? And I think any athlete at that level is, like, you know what I mean, they're super highly competitive. But what was more powerful than that was how he still has the motivation and the discipline at 36 years old. Like, you think about it, he actually started the sport quite late. He started the sport to get fit in between. He used to play rugby league. You know what I mean? Now, rugby seems to be the best base for MMA. You know what I mean? All them guys are tough as nails. Yeah. But he started through rugby, so he has a lot of mileage on the clock. You know what I mean? A lot of mileage on the clock, and he could have retired after that Ilia Topuria knockout loss and still be called one of the greatest featherweights of all time. But no, he was like, I'll go out on my terms. And he went in and he done an unbelievable camp. Being able to see him grind and work the way he does at 36 years old,
inspiring.
You know what I mean? And then it's like, puts it into perspective for me. It's like, I'm still only 22. This guy's 36. This guy's 14 years older than me. You know what I mean? It's like,
And he's called you in.
He's called me in, but as well as that, it's like, calling me in, I was obviously super blessed with that. But to be able to witness what he puts himself through, to be able to get the results, it goes back to that serenity prayer of he prepared himself to the best he possibly could.
Yeah.
And it was like, to be able to see that, how he does that, the team he has around him, like, money can't buy that experience, you know what I mean? Really, money cannot buy it. And obviously to be a part of it was huge. And I was able to take so much away from that camp, you know what I mean? Really, I was able to change my approach to training, like change a few things. Now, obviously, I think MMA is a sport where I think technically you can get super good, but I think experience is a big factor. So to be able to also move around with Volk, but also there's a lot of other great guys in the camp. Another UFC bantamweight, Colby Thickness. You had Brad Riddell there, elite level striking coach. Frank Hickman, great wrestling coach. Craig Jones, one of the best black belts in the world. And then obviously Uncle Joe Lopez. Shout out to Uncle Joe. Craig's brother as well. Like, it was just such Jack Della Maddalena, his coach Ben Vickers. You know what I mean? It was like, it was just like such a great room to just like learn off, if that makes sense. And like, I always like, not even just in training but just in life, I always try to be like a sponge where I just absorb as much information as I can off people who might be more educated, might be more experienced than myself, you know what I mean? And like, as I said, it's like, money will never be able to replace these kind of experiences, you know what I mean?
And how unique that is as well.
It's it was awesome.
That's such a cool thing to even hear you talk back about. There's an interesting thing you touched on there with Volk. So obviously going into that fight with Diego Lopez, he had the world against him, let's say. People were doubting him out, and he had adversity, and he had to overcome that adversity. For you right now, Max, what is that adversity in your own life? And are you even internally trying to prove a point to the world through what you're doing as you're living, or as the life of a fighter? Yeah,
so obviously at the moment, as a fighter, you're considered a prospect, you know what I mean? But like as I don't like to say, kind of put it in this way, but it's like, all my life I've known nothing else but martial arts. It's all I've ever done. You know what I mean? I've been doing martial arts. I'm doing MMA now 5-6 years. I transitioned from jiu-jitsu to MMA, and it's like, my point to prove to the world is that now I'm not just a prospect. I'm going to be one of the biggest names in Irish MMA and then the world. You know what I mean? I know that. I know that that's an absolute given. I've never known nothing else, and I've never wanted anything so much in my life. You know what I mean? And I always kind of have this kind of saying, by any means necessary.
I love
you
that.
know what I mean? And it's like, I will do absolutely anything I need to do to get to the top.
That's
you know what I mean?
brilliant.
So as I said before, that's my kind of, let's say, point to prove, and obviously through God, you know what I mean? Through my own hard work and my dedication, and through God, I'll accomplish it, you know?
By any means necessary. That's brilliant, man. I love another one I've often used, if there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah,
like,
100%.
You've got that will inside you, you'll make it happen.
No, 100%, yeah.
You've got to pursue things in life. You've
No,
got
you
to be
do.
goal orientated. You've got to have that vision, and you've got to be willing to put the work in to make it happen.
Definitely do.
That's 100%. Tell me, Mike, what is it motivates you then? Obviously, you've got that grand vision of going on and becoming champion in Cage Warriors and then on to the UFC. What is it that motivates you internally? What is that gets you fired up?
Like, so it's like, I don't know, people have like outlying motivations for what they do. Like, people might work a good job that they don't like for good pay, but I don't know. I think life's too short not to do anything you really love doing.
I love that, man.
Now, obviously, about fighting, like, there's things I don't like about it. You know what I mean?
What is it you
camps,
don't like about it?
But the camps are grueling.
Are
the
they?
camps are tough.
I've heard you say before that camps are worse than actual fight.
The fight,
Yeah.
but they have to be like that.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
And the reason they have to be like that is because, as I said before, once you do something super hard, it's like if I kill myself for 10 weeks and train this hard for 10 weeks, a 15-minute fight's going to be nothing. It's like people, like that last fight I had was tough, but if you were to say what was tougher, that 10-week camp or that fight, I'm going to say that 10-week camp because it was grueling. It was tough. It wasn't easy whatsoever. But I think all fight camps should be like that because that's what gives me that
mental edge.
That mental edge. But in why I do what I do, it's not for money. It's not for, let's say, like I'm doing this for passion. I'm doing this because honestly, it's passion orientated. Of course, I'm a believer in, if you're passionate and you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. You know what I mean? You never will.
You will work for, but it won't be it's considered just a joy to do.
Yeah, a joy to do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I've met people like that love their job so much that it's like it's a powerful thing where
it's an
like
obsession.
Yeah, exactly.
Your whole world is this one thing, and you get so much joy and satisfaction and fulfillment and purpose and mission and motivation. It's like, I can't not do this thing that I love to do.
Yeah, and like even like when people will like speak like negatively about the sport around me, I almost get offended. That's that's how passionate I am about it.
Try not to choke them out.
Yeah, you know what I mean? It's like that's how passionate I am about it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah,
and
I
it's
love
like it's like I'm honestly, it's like when you kind of get into that head frame of like, okay, a lot of people are goal driven. Some other people are money driven. But for me, I always think if you do what you love and you're good at it, the money will always come.
It'll flow to you, man.
It will always come.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's only a matter of time.
It's because you become so valuable in the industry or domain that you're in. It's like, we got to pay this guy what he's worth.
Exactly. But it's like, in hindsight, I wake up, right? Every Monday morning, I wake up, and I don't wake up dreading having to get. I'm excited to get up. I am like, I'm looking forward to getting up, getting after it, being through them trials and tribulations and training, because I know the feeling after it is going to be so worthwhile. Like the dopamine you get after training, being through them kind of hard training sessions, them hard spars, like the dopamine you get, it's like a natural drug. It's indescribable. You know what I mean? And I almost find myself being in, let's say, like worse morale when I don't train because I'm not going through them trials and tribulations. I'm not getting that dopamine.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Rewarding your brain with what it wants.
Exactly.
Which
yeah.
is like you do a hard sparring session or you're rolling on the floor, and the reward is that self-satisfaction, or you put yourself through a bit of pain, because the pleasure can't come before the pain.
No.
You've got to have the pain first and the pleasure after.
Exactly.
And this is a good way to deviate this conversation, because we touched on something before we got going about like the neurochemistry in your brain. You've touched on dopamine so much, and it's obviously the neurotransmitter associated with reward and pursuit of a reward or pursuit of a goal. And we can get dopamine in other ways in life. We can get it through vices. And drugs, especially. Drugs is
100%
fluid in society as well. Have you ever had a voice in your life that you've tried to crack, or that's kind of maybe got a hold of you for a period of time?
I have, yeah. No, I have. And I've spoken about it on a podcast previous to this, and I'm gonna speak on it a little bit further. I would have gotten in, and I'm gonna put everyone into, let's say, perspective. For me as a kid, I never drank, never really done drugs, never done anything like that, and I found I always got these hits from, as I said, from these hard training sessions, from these hard fights, competition.
Pushing yourself.
You know what I mean? From pushing myself. And obviously I had a really bad shoulder injury at the 2022 IMAF World Championships that left me out of training 8 months. So you go from doing something every day, you know, bear in mind, doing something every day that you love doing. Like you love it.
Can't get enough of it.
And it not being able to do it, it played a bit of a toll on me mentally. You know what I mean? Not being able to, you know, obviously you can do what you can, which I was trying to do, but it wasn't the same. You know what I mean? I wasn't, you know,
just trying to
I wasn't, and but it was like, usually I'm in the trenches with my boys. You know what I mean? Prepping for fights, getting ready. You know what I mean? And just to have that taken away from you, it was gut wrenching, broke me heart. And through that,
did you go to a dark place during that time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely did. Unbeknownst to me at the time, I mightn't have realised it. But looking back, it was almost like I needed something to suppress how I was actually feeling. And instead of speaking to someone, I was like, nah, you know what? I'm going to smoke this. And this is going to almost suppress me and keep me more mellow, if that makes sense.
It's like a form of escape almost.
Exactly. And I escaped for, I would say, it wasn't maybe as long as other people, because what ended up happening was obviously through rehab and through obviously time, the shoulder got a lot better. But I was probably smoking weed, and like I think addiction, people don't know, like people think when someone says an addict, they think he does that every day. For me, it wasn't every day, but I would have to like smoke 2-3 times a week.
Yeah.
And it was like, it had to be 2-3 times a week.
Would you be thinking about it every day?
Yeah.
That's where addiction is.
And that's where it is. And it's like, the thought of not doing it makes you anxious. You know what I mean? And that's, if you're doing something and the thought of not doing it makes you anxious, that's addiction.
It's got a hold of you already.
You know what I mean? That's addiction, and that's what it was for me. And this can happen with people where it's like they might only do it once a week or once every 2 weeks, or like addiction has different patterns. It has, you know, because it's like it's a broadened perspective. People think addict and they think he does that every day. But no, that's not what an addict is. Sometimes an addict, because for me, when I smoked, I had a great sense of shame doing it, so I felt like I wasn't supposed to be doing it.
So you would shame while you were smoking?
Yeah, I would almost I'd like belittle myself. It's like, why are you doing this? Yeah, it's
and would then the high of the weed take you away from that shame?
Yeah,
or would you still have it?
So it was like I would get this. It was almost like, so I'd be anxious thinking about not doing it, right? But while I was smoking, it was almost like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And then you'd get the high, and then it'd be like you're kind of floating then for a few hours, and then it'd be over. And like I just remember then, obviously, once the kind of shoulder got better, it got to a stage where it's like, okay, we need to get back to normal here. And I almost, like, instead of making things more easy for me, I almost set myself back a little bit with the smoking and stuff like that.
When you were returning?
Yeah, when I was returning.
How did that look?
And it was, to be honest, it was quite difficult to stop smoking it.
Yeah.
That was the God honest truth. But I'm a very strong-willed person. So like I got off it. You know what I mean? I stopped smoking, and through that it taught me, like, it really taught me that it's like, when you're in these, like, when you have these kind of passions and you have these, like, I want to say it taught me to learn who I am outside of fighting. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense, yeah.
Because I'm Max the fighter. You know what I mean? That's what I'm known as. But it's like, who's Max the person? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, and that was something I was interested in kind of finding out. You know what I mean?
And what did you find out?
I found out that I'm just
Max the fighter.
I found out I'm Max the fighter, but Max the person is just like yourself, just like anyone else. You know what I mean? And to be like everyone else it's mentally set. It's like fighting's a part of me. It's a big part of me.
It's your identity.
But it's a big part of my identity. You know what I mean? But it isn't everything I am. And I had to learn that, I think, because I felt like once fighting was kind of taken away from me, I thought so little of myself.
Really?
I thought so little of myself. Yeah.
How did you build up your self-esteem then to know that, like, you're obviously, a lot of your identity is tied up in fighting? That's your passion. That's what you do. It's your purpose.
Yeah. So through a lot of counselling, I found that out. You know what I mean?
Really?
And even up until like now, I still do. I still speak to. I have a great counsellor, Darren, that I speak to. I probably don't speak to him as often now. I speak to him maybe like once a year or something like that. You know what I mean? And I speak to him not to like talk about my problems or anything, but it's like to to address certain emotions I'm feeling, and to, you know what I mean, like to be emotionally aware, because I think that's a powerful thing, being emotionally aware.
Of course,
and I think the reason I went down the path or had that voice in my life, you know what I mean, of smoking, was because I wasn't emotionally aware of how I was feeling. I never processed, you know, okay, you're not going to be able to do what you love for 8 months. How are we going to handle this? I never thought about that. How is this going to make you feel? And I think if I maybe was a bit more, I was obviously still very young, you know what I mean? It would have been 4 or 5 years ago now, you know what I mean, when it happened.
You're still a teenager.
Yeah, I was still a teenager when it happened, and but I am a big believer. I think if I was able to address that, or had maybe that little bit more maturity, that it would have maybe changed things. But it goes back to God wanting you to put you through these trials and tribulations
to learn the lesson.
I learned it, and it was a powerful lesson.
Wow.
You know what I mean? It was a powerful lesson.
Fascinating, man.
And it's like I can think all I want of, if I done this or if I done that. I didn't do it, and I was meant to not do it. That was meant to happen. You know what I mean?
That's a great perspective for life, man. 'Cause
it is.
We look back and go, I wish I had taken this path or that way. It's not how it played out.
No.
You can't go back and change the past.
You can't.
But you can take away a lesson to take into your future.
Exactly. And as I said, a very powerful lesson that definitely changed a lot, and changed a lot in how I see things, and how I deal with emotions, and how I like approach certain things, because I came to the conclusion that as an athlete, I have a very addictive personality. You know what I mean? It's like I'm passionate about what I do. In fighting, in the art of fighting, I'm obsessed with it. I'll break it down, I'll dissect it. But it's like, if I find something else that I like or gives me dopamine the same way fighting does, well, guess what? I'm going to be as addicted to that as I am with fighting. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes
so
sense.
It's a blessing. It's also a curse.
Yeah.
It's a blessing.
You're obsessed with
It's a blessing if you can channel that into good things. If you find yourself going down that kind of voice of alcohol, drugs of any sort, you know, it can I don't want to say it can be detrimental, but it can have a negative effect. But if you're like, I don't know, anyone that is maybe struggling with them kind of voices in their life, with alcohol, with drugs, if you can find a way, if you can, you know, go to meetings, talk about it, you know, try get off whatever substance it is that you're struggling with, and try put that addiction and that kind of, let's say, obsession into something positive.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Into something different.
That's the difference. That's the difference, man.
It's powerful,
It
yeah.
is powerful, and you can alchemize different stages of your life. Even when you're in the depths of pain or depths of addiction, you can use that in a way to transform yourself into something greater, because we're all just seeking these like dopamine hits in our brain.
Yep.
That's all it is. But an interesting point you touched on there, and obviously this is November, which is they call it Movember.
Yeah.
It's like raising awareness for men's mental health.
100%.
You touched on something very key that you said there, Max, about like emotional awareness. And I believe a lot of men, because we're so driven in life and we want to block out emotions and suppress emotions and not talk about emotions because we feel it's easier to do and just continue on. It's not really the case, because the more you push, good like description of this, like a beach ball, which say are your emotions, below the surface of the water.
Yep.
It's going to propel up and
Yep.
it's going to explode like a volcano. It's going to be 10 times worse because you haven't addressed what's actually going on inside of you. The point I'm trying to get across here, or even the question I'm trying to ask, Max, is like, by becoming more emotionally aware, how has that impacted your life?
So I'm gonna say sometimes emotions can cause us to act very rash. Does that make sense?
We've no control over them.
We've no control over them.
Yeah.
So it's like when you're angry, you might lash out and do something that you regret. If you're anxious about something, that might withdraw you from doing things. Does that, like, that's what anxiousness does. It's like being emotionally aware of like any kind of emotion that you are feeling. It's like I'm a believer in this. If you were to sit me down 4 years ago when I had that voice in my life and ask me, what are you feeling right now? I wouldn't be able to describe the emotion.
So you'd know, they call it emotional literacy. And
Yeah.
literacy is to describe how you're feeling or the words to use.
So that's what I almost kind of had to find within myself. I would have known, like, I'm angry, I'm sad, but why? Where is it coming from? You know what I mean? And that's what I got very good at through counselling, was I was able to identify these kind of, let's say, things in my life that are causing me to feel these emotions. Now, do I still feel them? Of course I do. You're never not going to feel them, especially in what we go through in life. You know what I mean?
It's what makes us human.
Exactly. But it's like a lot of guys, a lot of men, obviously think it's, I don't know, let's say like less masculine or to not speak. I'm just going to bottle this up and keep it to myself. And as you said, that's when the explosion happens and something rash happens. That's maybe the reason why I started before smoking, was to suppress these feelings. But it's like, these are only, let's say, these methods are only ways of like delaying that explosion from happening. Does that make sense? Yeah. It's like, how do you get these emotions out? You talk to someone, talk to God, or you talk to both. You know what I mean? And that's how I kind of would have dealt with these emotions and become emotionally aware. And the effect it's had on me is just to have this clear, more ethical, logical thought process, decision making. Does that make sense?
Oh man, you're speaking. I fucking love what you're saying.
It's that's what kind of counselling had taught me. I would have considered myself a very black and white thinker. It was one way or the other. And now I would say I'm more multicolour.
It's beautiful. Beautiful. Yeah,
that's the best way I could explain it.
It makes so much sense, and I think I love what you touched on here, because you're a young fighter, a very masculine man. You're literally in the cage fighting another man. There's nothing more masculine than doing that, right? And for you to sit here and say to acknowledge your emotions is also a masculine thing to do.
It is, yeah.
It is incredible, because I think more people need to become aware of like how you feel is important.
Yeah,
we should have the vocabulary to describe how we're feeling, to really understand ourselves, because if not, you're going to live that life where you're trying to escape, whether it's through weed, whether it's through alcohol. Porn is another voice that may have. It's like you're trying to escape something and not really acknowledge it and put light on a situation where if you truly knew what was going on, you'd feel more complete and more whole in yourself.
Exactly.
And like you said, you'd show up and your decisions would be sharper.
Yeah.
You'd be more focused. You'd be on your path, you're on your purpose in life, and you'd be excelling then.
Yes.
Because you truly know who you are. There's a great quote from a great philosopher, a great Greek philosopher, Aristotle. He said, "The seed of all wisdom is to know thyself."
Yeah.
And you can really, and you truly know yourself when even emotionally you've got control over that, and you can put different words to it. That is fantastic said, Max. And I love, because I think definitely this month is important, because male suicide rate is crazy.
Yeah.
And it's ridiculous. And I mean, if anyone listens to that, maybe it'll bring a bit of light to like, your emotions are key.
100%.
They are a signal that are trying to tell yourself something that's going on within, or something that's going on inside your mind, that needs to be acknowledged, that needs to be extracted out of you, that needs to be spoken with a counselor, spoken with a friend, or given to God. And it's just like, there is power. And you become a more powerful individual because you're empowered, because you know and understand the emotions that you're feeling.
Exactly. And it's like, and honestly, it's like, I never would have been a believer in this until I started counselling. But when you have an emotion or you feel a certain way, whether that's anger, sadness, anxiousness, shame, do you know what I mean? There's so many. But it's like, those are emotions that need to be addressed. You know what I mean?
To figure out what's going on.
You know what I mean? And there's no shame in it whatsoever. And I would say from counselling, and I never would have been a big believer in it before going. And then once I start going and I start talking about emotions and how I was feeling, then being able to identify why I'm feeling what I'm feeling, it almost propelled me to where I am right now.
That's brilliant, because a follow-up question to this, to what you're talking about here, is I was going to ask, how do you use emotions nowadays? Like, how are you, like, obviously you're aware of them, you name them, but how do you tap into different emotions, say like joy or ecstasy or love for what you're doing, like, or even peace as well? Because you need to be peaceful at some stage, obviously being a fighter, but how do you tap into them higher states of emotions? Yeah,
so like, I have, as a fighter, and any other fighter will tell you this, it's like, especially coming up to a fight, there's a whole array of emotions that you don't.
I can only imagine.
There's a whole array of emotions. In my day-to-day life, like how I tap into them, it's like when I have them feelings of happiness, or I have them feelings of joy, as you said, like that kind of like them. I want to tap into them emotions. I always like make sure to like acknowledge them because, in my opinion, they're special emotions. They're powerful emotions. And when you're happy, when you're doing something that's making you happy or bringing you joy, you'd be surprised how much joy it brings you when you literally sit back for 2 to 3 seconds and just acknowledge it. Will bring you even more joy. You know what I mean? And that's something that I never would have done beforehand. I always would have just, is what it is, let it pass. But it's like when you're doing something that brings you joy, when you're with people that bring you joy, bring you dopamine, when you're laughing, when you're, you know, having fun, it's like, take that 2-3 seconds to just sit back, like feel, acknowledge it and feel what you're feeling. You know what I mean? It's like, it's a super powerful thing. Obviously, for it to get a bit more real and, let's say, in depth to them kind of more like deeper emotions, like sadness, anxiety. I always find with sadness, anxiety, shame, I find there's always pillars to why you're feeling these kind of things. I'm anxious. Why am I anxious? I find this really tough going 4 weeks. I'm sad. Why am I sad? And there can be so many different like pillars to sadness. You know what I mean? Like, let's say it could be a relative passing away, getting bad news about something. It can be so many things. And it's like, how do you deal with these pillars of, let's say, sadness, for instance? And for me, I think God was always a big help in these pillars of sadness. As serenity prayer, I always go back to serenity prayer, right? But it's another way of being able to deal with these pillars of sadness as much as you can.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like anything further that's out of your control, it's not in your control, it's in God's control.
Yeah.
And what will happen will happen.
I think the word you're alluding to is surrender.
Surrender, exactly. Surrender yourself.
Surrender it to God.
Yes.
Give it up to God, because he can help you in more ways than you could ever help yourself. And just the fact of saying it out loud, it just, he's there to help. He's there to listen. But I'm loving this, man. I'm loving this conversation, because I think it's hitting on a lot of key points in regards to emotions as well. Because they play a big role in our life. And like you said, when you're joyful or peaceful, everything's very easy going. But like the harder emotions, such as such as shame, fear, apathy, sorrow, sadness, whatever it is, there's pillars, there's reasons why they are coming up, and you've got to acknowledge them.
You got to acknowledge them, and you have to address them.
You
know what I mean? It's the biggest thing. Acknowledging them is a big thing.
Yeah.
Addressing them
is the next step.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
Go on.
And as I was like talking about the emotions, it's just like there's as I said, there's always going to be them pillars. It's to acknowledge it, to address it. You know what I mean? And it's like, once you can do them two things, and it took me a long time to be able to do them. You know what I mean? And this kind of translates to, like, let's say, all emotions. You know what I mean? You can channel certain emotions to do really positive, productive things also. You know what I mean? And a big way is, for me anyway, I always have, like, when I'm preparing for fights, I always had this like mental preparation. It's how I kind of flip the switch. And I never really understood it. Why did I never understand it? Because I never understood my emotions. But once I started to figure out my emotions and figure out my pillars, I started to understand how I mentally prepare for a fight that bit more. Does that make sense? And how I'll get mentally switched on. And before, like when I was still very young, how I prepared for fights was I used to get super angry, and I used to get and what I would do is I'd visualize the person I'm fighting doing nasty things to my loved ones, very, very kind of dark, and that would also, like, that would translate into how I fought. And I fought very aggressive, very recklessly, very viciously.
Yeah.
And through that, it's like I wouldn't have been able to see openings with my rash, like, angered thinking.
You make a great point there, because what emotions can do, especially in heightened situations such as fight or even life in general, is they blindside you. Yeah. They cloud your judgment. They cloud your rationality. They cloud what's actually in front of you because you're so riled up. It's like a veil that comes over you. Anger is just coming over you, and you can't see through things at all. And how? Sorry, just touching on everyone. How did that affect your fighting?
So, like, how it would affect was I was very reckless.
Right. Yeah.
In regards to, there was no. Sometimes you can watch a fighter and they can be very calculated. They can be very meticulous.
Methodical.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Methodical, that's another great word. And how they like approach their fight. Almost like you're watching just like a technician.
It's like a strategy. They're a strategist.
Yeah.
Everything is like so calculated and smooth, and just they're in a state of flow.
But they're in a high pressured situation, and you can just tell that their thought process is crystal clear. Yeah. And in my opinion, that's how one gets into the flow state.
You remind me so much as you're talking there of how McGregor was.
Yeah.
When you think of him when he's up and coming, whether he's fighting Poirier, whether he's fighting even Aldo or Max Holloway, everything he done was so calm, composed. He got them riled up emotionally before the fight. Like, they'd all be fucking tensed up, ready to go. Yeah. And then even the Aldo fight or even Poirier knocked out in the first round. Yeah. It's like they're fueled up, and their judgment, their rationality, and even their skill set is diminished because they're too high in emotion. Yeah. I think when you're in a peaceful state of mind, you'll only see solutions. Yeah. But when you're in a stressful state of mind, you'll only see problems.
Problems, exactly. That's great. That's really powerful. And I couldn't agree anymore. It's like when emotions are involved, as I said, rash judgment can be made. And that's how I kind of used to fight. But after, I would have said, my first 5-6 amateur fights, and let's say I would have went 9-0 as an amateur, and my last 3 amateur fights, like, I was a completely different fighter. Like, I was a completely different fighter. It's like, if you were to put the guy that was angry all the time against the man that, let's say, came out the other side of the voice and the counseling and was aware of his emotions, the guy on the other side would absolutely destroy the guy before. Great. And why is that? Because the most powerful thing you can do when you're fighting is, as I said, be able to have a clear thought process in a high stressful situation. Be able to see the problems and see the solutions while they're happening.
Millisecond. How does that work for you now, Max? Like, even if you reflect on the last fight with Ellis, is that his name? Yeah. When you're in, because obviously that fight was an all-out war, like you said, and there was a lot of back and forth, and you did win the 2 rounds, no doubt about that. Yeah. But even in them highly, pressured moments, how are you getting your focus and your thoughts aligned to the solutions you're looking to find within the fight? Yeah,
so, like, I think the first round, I done my best work, and everything, as I said, I felt in that first round clicked very well. The last 50 seconds of the fight, he landed a kind of like a left hook. Now, it wasn't like a big shot. I kind of pulled it, and he caught nice with the knuckles, and it just split me right eye. And like, that was the first round. I think I outstruck him, and I landed the far cleaner shots and done the better work in the first round. He had a few grappling exchanges with me. But like, in the new rules of MMA, it's positional change doesn't matter really. It's damage and danger. And how I kind of approached this fight was I didn't really care about winning. I cared about finishing. I wanted to finish that fight on it. And I will say how I fought that fight was how I approached it mentally. Was I wanted to go in and finish this guy. This guy was tough. Yeah, and he wasn't easy to get out of there, and I didn't get him out of there. You know what I mean? So I'll credit to him again. In the second round, I had that bit of adversity. Now, I remember in the fight, I looked back and I was like, I definitely lost that second round. But I could see one of the judges gave me all 3 rounds, gave me a 30-27. It was I look back at it, and honestly, I'd be my biggest critique. Whenever I fight, if I have a close fight, which I have had at amateur plenty of time, if it's a close fight, I've watched the fight back with no commentary. And I just look at the exchanges. I don't listen, because that's how commentary, the noise of the crowd jeering and roaring, like that can persuade, you know, like your opinion a little bit.
Of course,
sometimes, you know.
it influences you.
Like, but I said this to one of me mates, Adam. Like, if I fought like the way my opponent did, and I lost, I wouldn't be querying like the win or loss. I'd be like, okay, I lost. If Ben fought the way I fought and done what I did to him, he did to me, I'd be like, no, I 100% lost that fight. That's the God honest truth. And I'd be my biggest critique. If I won a fight that I thought I lost, I say I thought I lost that. I'd be straight, because that's how always how I've approached life. I can't say it for what I think. I have to say it for what it is.
Just telling the truth.
I always have to say it exactly, telling the truth. I always have to say it as it is. Like, if I don't, I don't like people that I have around me even now, they say it as it is. I don't like people that, let's say, like, I don't know, like overhype or like,
yes men, they call them.
Yes men.
Yeah.
I don't like having yes men. And
there's no real benefit to it either.
No.
You're blowing someone's ego up, and then it's like you're never giving them the critical, the like critiquing them in a way that actually makes them better.
Yeah.
You're saying something that they might need to improve on, but you're actually encouraging a fault that they have, and then they're blindsided at some stage, and all them cards come crashing down.
100%.
So you're better off having people who are like, listen, he's kind of stepped out of line here. We need to improve on this. And it's like, okay, yeah, thank you, because I actually want that.
No,
especially
100%.
as a man. You should want to receive criticism because it makes you sharper, it makes you better.
Exactly. And it's like, and if you're not seeking that criticism, it's like, all I could, if for someone who doesn't want to seek that criticism, and like, if they maybe get a bit of criticism, they're very, let's say, oblivious to it. They, you know, they don't want to acknowledge it and stuff like that. Try to take it on, because how beneficial it has been for me to, let's say, have my inner circle constantly critiquing me, but in positive ways.
They're not trying to put you down.
No, it's almost like, it's like, I love you. You're one of my best mates. You're one of my best training partners. You're one of my best students. Try it this way.
Yeah.
See, let me know how you get on. Try it that way. Let me know how you get on. And that's why I've always tried to, like, be a sponge in that regard, just taking on that kind of critical information. But as we were talking about, getting back to like the emotions, right?
Yeah.
One of the judges gave Ben gave me all three rounds over Ben, and I was kind of like, in the fight, I was like, this is 1 round apiece. That's what I thought. You know what I mean?
So that's what you were thinking going into the last round?
Yeah, the last round, and he done very well. He kind of slowly started to take over in the second and the start of the third, you know what I mean? And it was the first time I was in a fight and I had like these questions going through my head.
Oh, you do remember this?
I remember this as clear as day, and it's powerful.
What were the questions?
The questions were asking me, is this really for you? Like, is
you had that in the moment?
In the moment, you know what I mean?
I'm worried, because them questions would allude to that emotion, or not even emotion, just that feeling of doubt.
Yeah, and it's like, is this for you? It's like, this is tough. There's so many different things I could be doing right now. And then it was like, you know what? This is for me. I'm born and bred for this, and there's no way this fucker's beating me in my hometown. And I don't know what came over me, right? It was a surge.
Yeah.
It was like a surge, and I remember he hit me a body shot in the third round, right-handed a body, and I landed nice, and I was like a hurt, and I was just like, I'm gonna get you, I'm gonna bomb you now, watch. And I came in 1-2 flush on the chin, and I kind of rocked him. And through that, I just was like, empty the tank, and I just emptied the tank, landed some big shots. As my opponent Ben, like, super tough, super experienced, you know, he got out the other side of it, you know. But that was like a powerful thing. And after the fight, it was the first time I was in a fight and I had these questions in my head while I was fighting, you know what I mean? And obviously, as I am, I'm very aware of my emotions, and I think when you go through them trials and tribulations, because I've gone through them, you know what I mean? But I've never gone through them
like that,
if that makes sense, you know what I mean? And once you kind of go through them and you get to like experience it and you get to come out the other side of it. You know what I mean? It's so rewarding. Like, it's just so, I don't know, like,
because you proved it to yourself in that moment that you wanted it.
That I wanted it.
Yeah.
And I could have, I don't know. I always think about this, and it's like, when them questions were going through my head, that was the defining moment that would have won me or lost me the fight. So that's the yin and the yang.
Yeah.
But it's like, and this is what I'm a believer in. It's like, as I said, through me, I think, always seeking a hard challenge, doing that difficult things outside of fights.
Yeah.
Like, I always, actually, this, one of the coaches I trained over in Thailand, he has this in his Instagram bio, and I actually really, really like the analogy to it. It's like, take the long way home, shortcuts ruin dreams. And I've always taken the long way. Never taken the shortcuts.
The harder path.
I've always taken the harder path.
The narrow gate, as they call it.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that was the defining moment. Through them queries and them questions going through my head, it's like, I could have willed it. I could have willed it, and people being like, I understand why you willed it. That was the tough fight. But no,
That's not you.
That's not me.
That's not you.
And it's like, through being able to, you know, take them long, hard paths, that was the reason I had the result there, because, as I said in an interview after, it kind of went past that point of, you know, training camp and training. It came down to will in the end, in my opinion. You know what I mean? It came down to who essentially wanted it more.
Who wanted it more?
You know what I mean? And
I think what you've done time and time again is train that willpower.
Yeah.
So that's like such a force to be reckoned with. And you're obviously a resilient guy through all the trials, the tribulations, and the hardships you face. It's like, no, this moment's for me.
Yeah, no.
And in that moment, I just want to touch on that moment, because that is a powerful thing. Obviously, you had that moment of doubt where it's like, should I be here? What am I doing here? And then for you to get that surge of emotion, that's why I think words are fucking so powerful, man. Like, when you say a word, and such as what you said, and you're like, I fucking want this.
Yeah.
It's like energy just courses through your body.
You do, yeah, 100%.
But where did that thought, the thought that came after the day, where did that come from? Were you consciously like, I want this? Or did something like flip in your head like, of course I want this?
Yeah, so, like, obviously, I think, and this is what I think it is. I think I've had 4 pro fights before that fifth one, and obviously, I hadn't fought someone as maybe as durable. I don't know, but it was like, what I wasn't used to was, I was just getting, this fellow is just like a zombie, just like eating big shots.
Tough Welsh guy.
Tough Welsh guys,
yeah.
Coming at you, you know what I mean? And it's
like Celtic London.
Exactly, and it's like he had been through. I would say he had definitely fought tougher opposition than myself. Let's say leading up to this fight. Now he has had the 3-year layoff as well, so you're gonna have to you have to give that to him also.
Yeah.
But in my opinion, he was going in there to fight me with absolutely nothing to lose. You know what I mean? And I only kind of broke this down and thought about this after the fight. You know, I didn't really think about it before the fight. 'Cause before the fight, you're mentally preparing yourself for battle. You know what I mean? So after the fight, I broke it down like, this guy, he's going into my backyard. He's been off for 3 years. He's 32 years of age. He has absolutely nothing to lose. I've everything to lose. You know what I mean? And I never really thought about that, because it always would have been vice versa for myself. I always would have been the young kid with a chip on his shoulder to prove.
Yeah.
But this is the old veteran who's been sidelined for a while with injuries. He's coming in here and he has absolutely everything to prove. And getting back to your question, like when did these thoughts start to happen? I had a really good first round, and as I said, looking back at the fight, I didn't have as bad as a second round as I thought I had. But in the fight, I remember specifically one of my coaches, Peter Quigley, came up. He said, "You've lost that second round. You need to win this third round." And I was like, damn, like I was like, fuck yeah, I think you're right, like, you know what I mean? And I think once I heard that, I was immediately it's like I'm putting these, I don't know, like these you need to win this round, you need to win this round, you need to win this round. But what's happening there? And what's happening is my thought process is no longer clear. I'm thinking about the outcome before the outcome has already occurred or happened. And I think once that was said to me, I think all of these doubts start flooding into my head.
So you put the pressure on the outcome of the situation.
The situation.
Yeah.
And when I was kind of going through the start of that,
was that moment of doubt. That's where that kind of came from.
Kind of came from, you know what I mean? I just remember, like, I was like, that, you know what I mean? And then it was like, that's when all these, like, doubts, it's like, I'm lumping this fella, he's lumping me. You find a lot, about, like, I found out a lot about myself in that fight, like, you know what I mean? I really did. And, like, as I said, once them kind of, like, doubts start flooding in, I was kind of like, right, I need to get this thought process clear here. You know what I mean? And, like, while this was happening, was like, oh yeah, as I said, is this for me? Is this what I'm gonna be doing for the rest of my life? This isn't easy. This is tough. And as I said, it was like, I have trained. I don't know what it was. It was like, I think it was like something. It felt like something out of a movie. You know what I mean? It really did. That's the only way to explain it. But I just had this surge of energy. I just like I'm gonna say positivity, but like I'm looking for that.
Yeah, well, it infused you with this energy of like, I'm like you inspired yourself.
Inspired myself, exactly.
Yeah.
And it came from nothing. I never thought I would have felt. Usually in a fight, because all the fights before this, I felt numb, like numb
during the fight.
During the fight, I'd be in and I'd be numb.
Yeah.
I'd just be just.
Is this you felt something for this fight because it was a war?
Yeah, so, but no, I'm gonna say I always feel something before and after the fight, but never during it. Does that make sense?
Because the adrenaline's so high.
The adrenaline's so high, but this is the first time I felt something during the fight.
Interesting.
And it's like I don't know, and like I think my coach touched on it with me a little bit, where every fighter has a fight like that, that they ask these questions about themselves, and I think like that was mine anyway. But as I said, it was like that I almost inspired myself, but inspired myself from, I couldn't tell you what inspired me. It was almost like it was just something within me.
It got revealed to you.
Exactly. And it almost just pushed all of these doubts and negativity out. And was like, you are going to do absolutely everything you can to get this guy out of here. No matter what happens, no matter the result, no matter anything. And I just start charging forward. And I caught him a flush. As I said, I just caught him a flush right hand. They start bombing him.
Yeah.
And that happened from nothing. Like from absolutely nothing. Like I would say the third round was maybe edging towards him, maybe at the halfway point. I took him down. I landed a big shot on the ground. He escaped. He stood back up. He started kind of coming forward again, and that's when towards the end of the round, I landed that big right hand. But as I said, I found a lot. I found out like usually it's like, you know, we have these in life, especially when we're doing what we're doing, we have these trials, these tribulations, and sometimes these trials and tribulations reveal to us, are we doing what we're meant to be doing? You know what I mean? And once this was kind of, let's say, revealed to me, I immediately after the fight, you know, I'm all cut up, I'm all bruised, and I just, in my head, I just say to myself, there ain't nothing in this world I should be doing but this.
You're a warrior.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, it's what I'm born and bred to do. I'm born and bred to fight, and I'm born and bred to entertain. And I will do that until my body can no longer do it. You know what I mean?
I love that, man. I also think as well, like, God has planted a seed of something inside each and every one of us. And it's our duty in life to go out and find what that seed is.
100%.
For you, it's to be a warrior.
Yeah.
It's for you to go out there and perform and entertain and, you know, show the world what you're on about. And just, I love the way you've distilled that down, man. Like that moment of doubt. And when you watch the third round back now, can you see in the moment where that surge of energy came from?
Yeah, I could see. I could tell you the exact minute and the exact second. It was as soon as I took him down. I got a big takedown. I had him down on the ground for a little bit, and he stood back up. And usually in an exchange like that, it's very disheartening for the guy that gets the takedown. So after doing a lot of work to get them to the ground, and immediately it was like you can almost see like in my face in the second and kind of start the third round, you can almost see I'm a little bit discouraged, which is understandable. I've been a bit of adversity has been putting me way, you know, and I can't explain it, dude. It's just like
do you pick up on that psychologically when you're looking? Do you ever look across the cage in between rounds, or just see him? Yeah.
So I could see him. He had, now in fairness, he had a great poker face. But I remember especially, and I say even if you were to ask him, he would attest to this. I remember I landed that flush right hand. I had him in the clinch. I landed a few shots, and I landed a right knee. And I remember when I landed the right knee, I could hear him like really just like
the wind taken out of him,
like wind taken out of him, struggling for breath. And then I was like, this is my moment. You know what I mean? I was like, this is where it's made. This is where like he tried to bring me to a deep place, and I brought him deeper. You know what I mean? I brought him deeper, and it's like once I kind of seeing that psychologically, that was almost like in my head. It was like, I got you. I'm at that breaking you here. You know what I mean? Especially, it's like for me anyway, I would always rather finish a third round strong than like maybe win a first and second round and finish the third round crap. You know what I mean? I remember it happened to me in an amateur fight. I fought a really good guy, Kieran Loughran, and I started the first 2 rounds really well. Now I went into that fight with torn intercostal muscles, and I think it was a fractured or cracked rib, and obviously I think that paid dividends. I started the first 2 rounds really good. I think it was 6 weeks before the fight that injury happened. Now I knew I was at the kind of end of my amateur career. I knew I was probably only going to get another fight or 2 in, but I wasn't going to get another opportunity to fight an opponent at the caliber of Tiernan's at the time, you know. And I just remember that he landed a lovely right hand to the body, and just it felt like my insides just shut out. He landed like right on the spot where I tore him. It was a beautiful shot. And like that, I just remember I was like, if I drop the knee here, the ref's going to stop it. I can't. You know what I mean? I'm just going to have to weather the storm a little bit here. So like I won the first 2 rounds. I say he took the third round. But then it was like, I said to myself, after that fight, that will never happen to me ever again. And it hasn't. You know what I mean? And I want to say it was a personal win. But for me, to be able to finish the third round like I did, with that kind of last amateur fight of mine waving over me head a little bit of, having the first two good rounds and then kind of wilting a little bit in the third round, and just kind of, I don't say giving up, because I didn't give up. I threw down till the last minute, like, you know what I mean? But like letting the opponent take over a little bit, that kind of hung over my head for a little bit. So I was able to right me wrongs with that fight, especially. But like, I think obviously psychologically, like being able to have them kind of poker faces and then game faces. But I always think there's like subtle tells in preparation for people who are like showing nerves or whatever like that. I think for me anyway, before a fight, I'll always sit with my emotions, and as I said, clear my thought process and address and confront what I'm about to do. I think that's the most important thing, is confronting it. Because if you don't acknowledge what you're about to do, like going into fight,
you're not prepared.
You're not prepared.
You're
not preparing correctly.
Yeah.
You should feel anxious. You should feel nervous. These are like normal steps of preparation, but this anxiousness and these nerves can be used as energy, in my opinion. Whether I see a lot of other guys, when they're preparing, they're screaming, they're having to roar, they're having to hip pads really hard, and for me, you're expending this nervous energy that could be used in a fight.
I've heard you say that you internalize it.
Yeah, so that's exactly what I do, is I internalize, and I sit with these emotions and I let them fester a little bit. And only thing is, I don't mind having these emotions and feeling these emotions. I'm human. I'm supposed to feel them. But it's the most important thing for me is to have that thought process clear. If I make the decision, let's say, not to have that, like, not to let them emotions fester, let's say, like anxiousness or nerves or whatever it is, and let's say I decide to hit pads really hard, start screaming, start doing all this kind of stuff. Well, my thought process isn't clear. Why? Because I'm thinking of ways to deal with the emotions that I'm feeling instead of allowing myself to feel them, to keep the thought process clear.
That's been really transformational. You touched on that, obviously, with counselor and acknowledging that's been pivotal in your career as a fighter.
It has been, no, 100%. And it's like, as I said, it's like, it's been a really big part. And I think, as I said before, it propelled me to be able to do what I do now. You know what I mean? It really propelled me. And I think if I did not do it, I don't think I would have had the results that went my way. Like, miraculously, like, and you don't really get it too often, but I'm now undefeated. I think in this will be 14 MMA fights. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In total now, I'm undefeated for maybe, if I don't know. But as I said to you before, it's like everything is meant to happen for a reason. In life, there is no coincidences. I don't believe in it. There's no coincidences. Everything is meant to happen.
Yeah.
Everything happens for a reason. And it's like. As I said, it all goes back to the issue that I had, which was that voice. And I think God put that in my life to be able to teach myself how to deal with these emotions that I have. Because whether you like it or not, in any high level sport, there's going to be emotions involved. You need to know how to use these as weapons and how to be able to use them as fuel. You know what I mean?
Fuel, tools. Yeah, no, I love that, man. I love that. Obviously, you're looking forward to the future.
I am, dude.
You are fighting in February of next year.
Yeah, Cage Warriors 200 in the RTS again. That's gonna be a big one.
Yeah.
I haven't heard any kind of opponents or anything like that as of yet. But like anything, I'm still training away. I'm still training hard. You know. I never let myself get out of shape while I'm doing this. You know. I think, you know, as a fighter, or when you're doing anything you love, you do it 365 days a year
with a passion, exactly.
Yeah, and that's what I do. You know.
I know one of your favorite words, Max, is skill acquisition.
Yeah, skill acquisition.
So you're obviously coming in. Would you be coming into camp just yet, or has it started?
Well,
it's about to start.
It's so.
Or is it already started?
So this is how I camp. Right? Is camp for me is physically, mentally preparing myself for it. That's what camp is. You know what I mean? Getting as fit as possible and getting as sharp as possible. Whether the skill acquisition lies outside of camp.
Okay. So this is something you'll be working on now if you're not necessarily in camp.
So it's like, this is what out of camp is for. It's for self-improvement, to make corrections to fix errors that you might have made in your previous bout. As a skill acquisition, I always do my best to go to, let's say, the specialists of the martial arts. So as you know, mixed martial arts is loads of individual martial arts putting together, and I'm always like trying to learn from the root of the martial arts. So wrestling, jiu-jitsu, boxing, Muay Thai, and then I'll go to my MMA coach Owen, and we put it together. You know what I mean? We really put it together. And I've always done this.
Yeah,
I've done this since I'm a kid. And I don't know, like, I've always queried the way I've done things. And it's like, well, he's doing it this way. Should I be doing it this way? Or whatever like that. And like, I
how do you make a decision there?
How do I make a decision? I suppose I can't. Do
you trust yourself?
I know. It's like, I trust myself, but I'm as I said, I'm a realist. I go off results. It's like, everything, this method, this works for me. It's worked for me in 14 MMA fights. So it's like, it has continued to work the more I fought. And it's like, we going over that. I suppose, me as a person, I'm always evolving in a way, if that makes sense. I'm always looking for ways to better myself. I'm very open-minded in how I train and who I train with. I'm always looking for different methods to do things. like it's always how I've always approached this sport with a completely open mind. The same way I approach life. I don't approach this sport with black and white thinking. I approach it with this multicolored thinking.
Beautiful.
There's so many different ways to take on information, take on different techniques, take on different methods of training that you can implement. And listen, as a person, it's like you find out what works for you or not. But that's what the whole point of skill acquisition is. Trials and tribulations, finding out what works, what doesn't work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like, it's constantly changing. It's like every camp that I've had, to be honest, like I would say from a cardio sense, it all remains the same. From a preparation sense, it all kind of stays the same. But it's like if I can find something that might improve it, I'm not scared to try it out and see if it makes it better or worse. You know what I mean?
Apply what works and discard what doesn't.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's powerful, but you can also apply this to any facets of life.
In life.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. And I think the key point you touched on there is just having an open mind.
Exactly.
Absorb the information that works. Tell me, in regards to skill acquisition, was there one thing during this phase that you're going through right now that you've applied more of, or you've delved into?
Yeah, so the big one at the moment is obviously, as I said, in my biggest critique, I sat down and I watched my fight over and over and over and over. And what I do is I'm gonna pick out one thing in particular that I wasn't happy with the fight.
Yeah.
And it was how I was exiting after my combinations.
Okay.
I was leaving my head very stationary, which is very unlike myself to do that. Like, and I'll say this: I have sparring footage on my phone, and like I'm always exiting, but for whatever reason in this fight, as I said, I don't think anything's a coincidence. It was meant to happen. I was meant to maybe get into this fight to learn this lesson. You know what I mean? And usually my exits are very sharp. So that's been something we've really been honing in on. Exits off the back foot and also exits off the front foot. You know what I mean? So it's two different kind of methods of fighting. Fighting on the back foot is obviously you're fighting going backwards. Fighting on the front foot, you're fighting going forwards. And working on exits on the front foot and the back foot. That's been the biggest thing so far, you know, which I will implement into my sparring, which has been getting implemented now the past 2.5 weeks, into my pad work and into my sparring. So yeah, I'm happy with that. Obviously there's so much things to nitpick. I could delve into it, but it's like anything. I am not scared to make these corrections, to you know, I know I'm not perfect as a person. No one's perfect as a person. And it's like, you need to be able to do that. You need to be able to, even in life, be able to query yourself. You know what I mean? Be able to say, did I do this correctly? I don't think I've done this correctly. I might need to change up on this. You know what I mean?
Self-reflection.
Self-reflection.
Yeah.
100%.
Question yourself. Ask better questions as well. Tell me, Max, we're going to wrap this up in a second, but what a conversation's been, man. If young men were to listen to this, especially in Ireland, heard you say one thing right now, what would your message be?
Oh, my message would be, as I said, it's like, if you think something's a coincidence or something is, you know, happening to you, let's say by coincidence, and it's just after happening, it's not. It's after happening for a reason, good or bad. You know what I mean? And how you approach that is going to be the most important thing. You know what I mean? And what I would say is, whatever that coincidence may be, good or bad, approach it with courage, and approach it with an open mind. You know what I mean? That would be my my message. Don't think black and white. Think
multicolored, man. That's a great message. And tell me, obviously, you're an inspiration for so many young men and just men in general, what you're doing and the path you're on and your closeness to God and everything else that comes with it. Who inspires you, Max? Who is there a fighter that inspires you, or who inspires you?
As I said before, I'm gonna go back to him. Who inspires me is me father.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He inspires me in how he approaches life daily. You know, in how grounded and down to earth he is as a person, and in what he's instilled in me as a young man. You know what I mean? I don't think anyone else in this world could have taught me better. You know what I mean? So, shout out to him. You know what I mean? He's a great man. And yeah, like I obviously I do this a lot for myself, but for me and him, this has always been a vision that we've had. You know,
That bond is so powerful with
So powerful.
father and son, man. That is incredible.
And as I said before, it's like he's a jiu-jitsu purple belt, I'm a jiu-jitsu brown belt.
Yeah.
I think that closeness of us, you know, I think that comes from trying to strangle each other out daily, you know what I mean? Being through them kind of hardships together, you know what I mean?
That's what creates the bond and a stronger bond. Men need that, especially to go through rough times together.
100%.
Such a sport as jiu-jitsu, it's such a beautiful example.
100%. But there's so many examples where you can go through them kind of hardships. It doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily, as I said, I would invite, or I would, like, you know, anyone that is considering doing jiu-jitsu, wrestling, any type of grappling hands-on sport.
Yeah.
I couldn't recommend it anymore. Like, I really couldn't recommend it anymore.
Yeah.
To seek that hardship, if that's what you're after, you know. I get questions all the time. What's the hardest belt to get in jiu-jitsu? It's the white belt, because the hardest thing to do is start. You know what I mean?
Things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Living one day at a time, enjoying one moment at a time, accepting hardships as a path to peace. Taking, as Jesus did, the sinful world as it is, not as I would have it, trusting that you will make all things right. If I surrender to your will, so that I may be reasonably happy in this life and supremely happy with you forever in the next. Amen.
Amen.
Maximus Lally, what a pleasure, man. Thank you so much for your time, brother.
I really appreciate it. You know.
This has been amazing, and the insight's been incredible. So, yeah, wishing you all the best in the next fight, and looking forward to your journey, man.
Yes.
All the best.
Really appreciate
Boom.
it.
Happy days, man.
Lovely.
Nicely done.
Yeah.
Days, man.
Lovely.
Nicely done.
Yeah, man, that was sick.
That was
really
fast.
enjoyed that, man.
Man, that was
really,
fucking-
Dude, I have to say, I've done a lot of podcasts. That was by far, I'd say, the best chat I've had on a podcast. I swear to God.
That's what it's
I
all
swear to
about,
God.
brother.
I swear to God.
That's what it's all about, man. That's, man,
By far, dude.
I've
By far,
got
I really enjoyed that.
big aspirations for this, man. So I appreciate it, man.
Brother,
It's a
my
grab.
man, grab. I appreciate it, dude.
Thank you, thank you.
Really appreciate it.
How do we get on, Adam?
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
I've been first in my business.
I'll go.
Yes, brother. Boom.
Where's your toilet, dude?
Just straight into